Hello everyone, welcome to A Theory of Nothing. I am the host, Scott Schaefer. Welcome everyone to A Theory of Nothing. I am your host, Scott Schaefer. Welcome everyone to A Theory of Nothing. I am your host, Scott Schaefer. No, the video is not broken. I'm just messing with everyone because that is the point of this video. How many of us, the awakened and the aware, whether it be brave or not brave, are noticing an increasing trend with the sheep of the world? And it's not just the sheep that are doing it. We are as well. What I am talking about is repeating ourselves. Now, of course, I was just poking fun at the beginning of this video. But how many of you are aware of repeating your own stories over and over again? Now, this could range from business practices where it's necessary to have a repetitive story, like if you're an attorney or such, to a managerial status where you have to repeat maybe multitudes of information to different members of the board and different members of the company. And all those things are completely acceptable when it comes to repeating. However, with the exception of an attorney in a jury in court situation where repetition, actually even more as a witness than even that, is more critical to repeat exactly the storyline. How many of you are repeating yourselves? Catch yourselves telling the exact same story over and over again. Think about it for a minute. My wife pointed it out about me doing it with a summation of being out here in Arizona relevant to the climate, right? The big joke I've always said to people is, yeah, I'm from Michigan, but I love being in Arizona because what other state can you drive for 3 hours up north, go play in the snow, come back down and hop into the jacuzzi? That's been my statement that I've made since back in '92 when I first moved out here. But I didn't realize that I was even repeating myself on that statement, and I said it all the time to same people, to different people. That's just my go-to statement anytime weather came up. And when my wife brought it to my attention, I was kind of stopped a little bit in my tracks about it. And I'm like, does it bother you that I make that statement? She goes, it doesn't bother me. It's just you repeat it over and over again, and everyone else around us is repeating themselves over and over again. And I thought, And she said, well, think about our past relationships with friends that we've had and that we're still acquaintance with. We never became like besties, but that we were acquaintances with, and now why we don't hang out with them anymore. And the number one excuse Scott, that has always given to her as to why we don't hang out with this person or that person anymore is because they frickin' repeat themselves over and over again. Like every time we see them, there's 1 or 2 minutes of updates of what's gone on in their lives, maybe over the last time we saw them. And then it is repeating the exact same, whatever the story is, whatever the scenario is. And it's usually just one event, and it's not even like a massive major event. It's like, my kid put a hole in the wall, or my kid hit another car with his car, or like I do. You can drive up north, get out, throw a snowball, come back down and hop in the jacuzzi. But it's like every single time. And then all of a sudden that becomes the mass root of their conversation for the whole evening. Like they have nothing else to talk about. And And, the first couple of times you hear it, you're just like, oh, okay. And then you're trying to be nice. And then after about the third time and then the fourth time, you're like, I get it. And you almost want to interrupt them and tell them the story before they get it out. But they're your associate, they're your, your friend, so you don't want to do that and offend them. Unfortunately, that creates a chasm in the relationship, which eventually drives a wedge of distance between people. And you would hope that after not seeing someone and hanging out with them for a while, that when you got back together, it's like, hey man, it's been like 6 months. It's got to be something new to talk about. And a couple of new conversations might come up. And then I guarantee you before the end of the evening, unless you're just saying a quick hi and bye, before the end of the evening, one of the original stories will come back into play. Now, I did not think that this was true. After my wife proposed it to me, I had to think about it for a minute, and I was like, maybe. I know they repeat themselves, but I don't think it's exact. I think there's variations to it. And I even thought from what the story that I was saying that there was variations to it. And I really started to think about it. And then my wife said, well, here, why don't you propose this to everyone on YouTube as a challenge? And that's a big thing going on right now with this is a good challenge, though. This is a free your mind from troubles and increase your awareness challenge versus drinking bleach or some other horse shit that goes on wherever, which don't do that. That bad news. But the challenge that she proposed was try your best, no matter what crawl of life you're in or from, to not repeat a phrase ever for just one whole week. Like, really intentionally wrangle yourself in on a conversation, think of your words a little bit more prudently before speaking them, and do not repeat yourself. And I was just kind of, I laughed, and then I pointed my finger at her and I said, well, you repeat yourself all the time too. She goes, oh, I know I do. But now I'm aware, I'm more aware now that I do. And she goes, it's basically because of, been kind of hearing it going on around me. And then when you do this thing about the up north in the snow, it just like was a big boom, like a smack upside my head. So I had to say something to you about it. And I know that I do it too. And I think we both should try it. And I said, well, okay, look, I'll give her a shot. And this was, I don't know, maybe 3-4 weeks ago. Somewhere around when I was sick. So I'm just kind of like, whatever, I'll give it a try. And I was only half intention into the attempt to try it. But what happened was interesting. We were hanging out with somebody one of the days when I was feeling better, and the conversation came up again about weather. And again, I went into my default mode. However, I had already told her previously that I would intentionally not do it. But I wasn't even thinking, and I almost, or I should have, repeated myself. But what happened was, the comment came up. Now, I told a similar story. I said, yeah, it's great in Arizona, right? Out here in the wintertime, we don't get any snow on the ground. We did we were talking about the Four Peaks. I'm like, we did because it was a really cold blast. So the mountains were covered in snow, but like a day later, the snow was gone. I said, that's what I love about living in the valley. Wintertime, I can wear, long sleeve shirt or maybe a jacket, just like a regular thin jacket, and I'm good. I could drive for 3 hours up north. I can hop out, run around in the snow, make a snowman. We can hop back in the vehicle. I can drive back down to our house. I can sit down on the porch, crack open a beer, and strike up a good conversation with some friends. And my wife, her eyes just got really big. She was standing next to me when I made the comment to the other person, and she just looked at me, and she just had this big old from ear to ear shit-eating grin. And I just wasn't even thinking anything at all about it. I didn't intentionally try to change my story up. I didn't do anything else. But when she proposed the awareness challenge to me, it flipped a switch deep in my brain, deep in my conscious, to unconsciously change my dynamic of speech pattern and try to avoid repeating myself. So I wouldn't think anything about it. Conversation went on, and then at the end of the evening, we were driving home, and she turns to me and she goes, when you did that, when you said that about the going up north, and I was like, oh shit, I was thinking I repeated myself. She's like, and then you changed it up, and so it came down, and then I thought about it, I was like, huh, I guess I did. She goes, I was shocked, because I thought, oh, there you go, we've only been 2 days into the challenge, and you've already blown it. I said, well, I unintentionally changed the story around, I guess, because I wasn't trying to. It was what was flowing from my thought process at the time. She's like, well, I'm glad that you didn't repeat yourself, but I was shocked. And I was like, yeah. Well, what I did notice, though, is before that one conversation, before those words had come out of my mouth, for the few days leading up to that moment, we had met some new friends, and we're starting to hang out with them. And we hung out with them for like 2 days or 3 days straight in a row. And they were explaining the story of how we met them, because it was a really funny circumstance about how it happened. But to everyone that we were meeting, that they were introducing us to at different places we were going to hang out, and then to the exact same people at those places over again, maybe even later in that evening, or maybe the next day, they repeated word for word the scenario of what took place the evening before when we had met them, or 2 days before when we had met them, whatever it was. And before the conversation that took place where I mentioned about going up because of the weather, I was already hyper aware that these guys, we just met them, but they're like just repeating themselves like over and over again. And when I noticed that from them, I noticed that other people all the way around us, everywhere we went, all the bars we had gone to, restaurants we had gone to, were also repeating themselves. Like the same pockets of conversation. It was like we were stuck in this weird Twilight Zone episode of like Groundhog Day. Only difference was we weren't waking up in the same bed, repeating the exact same day over and over again. We were at a different bar, different location, but with some of the same people and then some of the different people, and just this like a tape player was being turned on, and then like the whole conversations and different conversations, because you could hear all the different ones, were just all being repeated, like as if there was. It was like as if I decoded the matrix in my brain with my wife asking me to do this challenge a couple of days prior, that it caused me to become aware of this scenario of information passage. So it was very, very interesting, and that's probably why I didn't repeat myself. So I am going to now forward this challenge onto you guys. You guys see that cool little sun halo effect behind me? I don't know if I can block it. It's a really odd angle from my head. But I'm going to propose to you guys the do not repeat yourself challenge. For 1 week, try to focus on not repeating your story. So if you have to repeat a situation to someone, obviously if it's a cop and you have to tell it to a couple different cops, that's a little different. But you can mix it up. So you could tell what I mean is you could tell a situation of events, but alter around portions of the conversation and still have it maintained in sequence and in order. If you know what I'm talking about. Now, if you do this, and you my belief based on my own experiences and my wife's experience with this challenge that she proposed, was that it will flip a switch in your subconscious of this awareness. And you may already be aware, and if you guys are, let me know in the comments section, because maybe some of you guys are fully aware of this scenario, and you purposely don't repeat yourselves, and you notice that the whole world around you seems to be constantly repeating itself. But what I noticed was since those situations occurred, and then since my wife brought up my awareness again that I did not repeat myself, it's almost gotten ridiculous as to how often conversations are getting repeated, to where I am now interrupting conversations with these friends that we met to stop them from repeating themselves and redirecting the conversation, taking control of it, almost interrupting it. And it's almost coming a little bit rude, but I just do a quick little interjection and redirection, and then basically hand the microphone back over to them. So it's like a failing comic getting booed. I go up there, drop a joke bomb that is a lead-in for him, get the crowd roaring, and then move on. You know, that's the best way I can equate how that scenario with that redirection is. And it started to change the dynamic of the conversations. So that is the challenge to you guys. If you are aware you repeat and you already do not do that anymore, you're already aware of that, let me know in the comment section. And yes, kind of a repeat because I'm going back and forth. But if you aren't aware, or you don't think that you're doing it, I'm going to tell you, you probably are, and you don't realize it. But now that you're listening to my video, you will become aware of it. And that teeny tiny little auto switch in the back of your brain is going to just click into receptive mode. Another process in the awakening, I think. And then sit back and kind of don't force your awareness, but see what happens with your surroundings and the people around you. And unless you live secluded in the middle of the wilderness and you never have anyone around you, try to for a couple days in a row go be around a lot of people. And it could be in different places, but try to be around the same people for maybe a couple days in a row if you can, in different situations, and see. Don't be part of the conversations, but see how many people are repeating themselves. And just be present. And then let me know in the comment sections if those people around you are repeating themselves. Perhaps it's only happening to my wife and myself. And out here in Arizona, I don't know. But as like with my last video that I posted about the roadways, and a couple of my subscribers who had commented in that video, and I appreciate the comments as always and the support, the continued support. Anytime I have something happening to me, being an ME, there's at least a couple of you, if not more than you, than maybe want to let on, that are affected in the exact same way, or in a very, very similar way. So it's kind of a little interesting scenario. So yeah, as always, like, subscribe, share. My videos are free to repost. I'm not going to drop a copyright infringement or any BS like that is getting pushed by the European Union right now to YouTubers and different people. And let me know right after this video, after you watch it, if you are aware of it or not, and if you're willing to do this challenge. And then hit me back up again on this same video in a week and let me know your outcome. I'm very, very interested to see if the same thing is happening everywhere, or if it's just in our own little bubble of awareness. Until the next video, you are watching a Theory of Nothing channel. And of course, I am the host, Scott Schaefer. Oh, and it's Friday, so hopefully you're not having to work and you're off for the next couple of days and it's your weekend, and if so, enjoy it. And if it's not, enjoy your weekend when it comes up.